Hey guys, what's up? Jesse Morrison here, and today is September 1st, 2022, and I wanted to give you a quick housing market update for San Diego. So if you're thinking about potentially buying or selling your home right now, you're probably, wondering, what's going on with the market? Are we at like a market peak? Are things going to come crashing down? What's going on? If you look on the news, you're going to find experts saying one thing and a handful of experts saying another. And sometimes it's really hard to decipher, what's true and what's not. So in this video, I'm going to just kind of open up the statistics that were just released this morning, so we can find out, what are the trends showing us? What is history showing us? What can we decipher from the raw numbers? So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so what we're looking at here is supply and demand. That's the most basic of all economics, right? So what that says is if there's more demand than there is supply, then prices typically go up. And if there's more supply than there is demand, then that's when prices come down. All right, and how we measure supply and demand when it comes to real estate is based off of months worth of inventory. So, and how we figure that out is by taking how many homes are on the market and dividing it by the average amount of homes that are sold every single month. So if there are 100 houses for sale in San Diego County right now, and on average 25 houses sell every single month, then it would take 4 months to deplete that inventory down to zero. So right here, you can see it way back in 2005, all the way to present, the supply inventory has gone way up almost to 14 months and then has been coming down ever since. And now, right today, we're at around 1.7 months. Okay, this number here, or this green line here, indicates where the magic is. Okay, when supply is above 6 months worth of inventory, then that is when, historically speaking, prices go down. Right, there's more supply than there is demand, and as inventory comes below 6 months, right in this area here, that's when there's more demand than there is supply, and that's when prices typically go up. Okay, so what we're looking at here is a graph that describes what home values do when supply is below 6 months versus above 6 months. So when supply is below 6 months, that's highlighted in green, and when it's above 6 months worth of inventory, then it's highlighted in red. And as you can see, when inventory is below 6 months, prices go up, and when it's above 6 months, they come down. They go up, they come down, and we've been below 6 months worth of inventory ever since 2012, and we've been steadily climbing in value. So what affects supply? It has to do with buyers' ability to afford to purchase a home, right? If people can't afford to buy a home, then they can't buy, and supply will naturally rise. Over the past couple months, mortgage rates have more than doubled, and there's a huge amount of inflation going on, and less and less families can afford to buy a home. So what this graph is showing us is the percentage of households that can afford to buy a home at any given time. This top graph here talks about our nation, the United States, how many people can afford to buy a home in the United States. And this bottom graph here talks about how many people can afford to buy a home in California. So this is put out by the California Association of Realtors. They don't go granularly here in San Diego, so I just wanted to show you kind of more macro picture. But you can see here that there's the crash here in 2007, 2008, and at that point, it looks like maybe somewhere around 45% of America could afford to buy the median price home, and in California, it looks like somewhere around 12% or so of the population in California could afford to buy a home. Well, look where we're at now, guys. Only 16% of California can afford to buy the median price home. And in the United States, 38% can afford to buy it. So we are right. I mean, the US is well below where we were back in the crash, and California is quickly approaching that affordability. So as this happens, more and more supply should come to the market. And as more supply comes to the market, that's when we're going to start to see a shift in home values. Okay, so we just talked about the macro, or the big picture of where the market is. And I wanted to just kind of take a few minutes to, in the next few slides, share with you, what's happening in the next 90 days. So from September to November, what can we expect to happen? So this particular slide is market time. How long does it typically take to sell a home? Well, these green arrows represent January to June. January to June 2018, January to June 2019. And I'm going to go over a little bit more detail on this first graph because the next couple graphs are very similar to this one. But the trend is that from January to June, homes sell faster and faster and faster. And then as June approaches the next January, homes sit on the market longer and longer and longer. And these yellow boxes here indicate the time periods of September to November. So you can see like September to November, we're like right in the middle of this season where homes are sitting on the market longer and longer. So what we can see, or what we can expect over the next 90 days, is that wherever homes are selling now, however long it's taking, it should take longer and longer and longer as we approach January. And where we're at right now is 20 days. It's currently taking 20 days to sell a home. And it looks like over the last several years, it typically takes somewhere between 12 and 30 days. So I wouldn't be surprised that you're gonna start seeing homes sit on the market for 30 plus days here in the next couple months. All right, so this graph here, it represents buyers, how aggressive buyers are during specific times of the year, okay? So what it's saying is, what is the percentage buyers are willing to pay compared to the list price? So if buyers are willing to pay more than list price, the numbers will be above 100%, right? And if they want a slight discount, numbers will be below 100%. And this is really, really interesting because there's a trend, right? There's a trend to see how aggressive buyers are, and it's based off time of the year. And again, these green arrows here represent January to June, that same time frame. This is when buyers are most aggressive. So you can see that in January, buyers aren't as aggressive, but as it approaches June, they get more and more aggressive. And then vice versa, from June to the following January, they get less aggressive, right, over time. And again, this 90-day window that we're coming into, September to November, falls right in the middle of that window where buyers are being less and less aggressive. So don't be surprised. Don't be surprised that over the next 90 days, you're going to start seeing more and more price reductions as buyers are willing to pay less and less for homes. Now, normally from January to June, we go up, right? We've been doing that. But you can see that in 2022, where we're at right now, we actually, in that same time frame, we actually saw a decrease in the aggressiveness from buyers. The buyer aggressiveness, it peaked early. It peaked in April of this year, rather than continuing to go up all the way through June. And because of that early peak, I think we're going to be seeing a little bit of a change in the market compared to what we're used to, and prices might come down quite a bit more than we would normally anticipate. So the last graph I want to go over is this one here. It's what values are doing, right? I call this cyclical values because prices, they don't go up in a straight line and they don't come down in a straight line. In San Diego, it works more like a stair step, right? So you can see from January to June is when prices typically go up, and then from June to the following January, that's when things usually stabilize or even see a slight decline. So again, in this window of September to November, we should expect prices to come down. But like we just talked about in the previous graph, I think prices will probably see a little bit more severe of a drop than they're used to, because we're seeing such a lack of aggressiveness from buyers and how big of a drop off it was. And not just how little aggressiveness a buyer wants to be, but just how much of a spike we had in prices. Look at this. So just in the last couple years, we've seen prices skyrocket, right? They've gone up so much from a median price point of just over $700,000 all the way up to $1 million. And now they're coming back down. Today they are at $910,000, the median price point here in San Diego. So how much will it drop? I don't know. But remember, we talked about prices continue to go up as demand exceeds supply. And until we hit that 6-month supply window or have more than 6 months of inventory on the market, prices should continue to go up. It's just a matter of how fast. But on the other hand, remember the beginning of this video, we talked about how affordability is very, very low. So if homes are more or less and less affordable, supply should go up. And as supply goes up beyond that 6-month mark, that's when we're going to see the prices come down. But until then, this trend should continue to go up. We normally see a slight decrease during this window of time anyway. So I'm not overly concerned with seeing price reductions, because that is typical for this time in the market. So that was the San Diego housing market update for September of 2022. I hope it was super informative to you. Just going through those numbers really helps me understand the market as well, so I can better advise my clients. If you have any specific questions, feel free to reach out. I'd highly recommend that you go to the website below here, jessemorrisongroup.com, and from there you can fill out an application to see if there's any available spots on the calendar. But I look forward to helping you with anything that you need. Until next time, I'll talk to you later.